Hello, my name is Christopher Campbell, and today we're here with Dr. Christopher Roblész. Roblész is the CEO and founder of Math and More, and today we're shining an Atlanta Canes community spotlight on some of the work that he's doing in Atlanta. Before we begin, Christopher, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about, first, you know what? Let's step back a little. Tell us about your journey at Miami and how you came to be a Miami Hurricane.
So my journey at UM is crazy, right? So I went to Barry University for undergrad, right there in the Miami area, but not like on UM's campus, so it's not too far. But we partied all the time at UM. So when I was undergrad, because I got my doctorate degree from UM, I was always at UM's campus for parties and all that stuff. And ironically enough, that's when I got to see President Obama for the first time when he was on his campaign trail at UM, and just so many other various experiences. So before I was an actual Cane, I was a friend of the Canes and then became a Cane.
What made you end up going to Miami?
So I knew that I wanted to be in Miami at UM, holding up the U when, one, Obama was there for sure, but then two, when I saw the education department sort of shift and they had various opportunities within education and human development and like my ability and the opportunity to do research around metacognition. So, you know, UM is a heavily research school. I was not really a sports fan, even though the University of Miami is a university with a football team, not a football team with a university. So although I love all the sports and I get really excited about all of that, I really did go for like the School of Education and trying to make sure that we make that impact and that barrier in the education field.
You know, education is always seen as one of those challenging areas to be in. Being an educator is probably one of the toughest things to do, especially in this era with so many distractions with technology. Yes. What gave you kind of the mindset that this is something you wanted to tackle?
So, believe it or not, and I tell this all the time, I tell the story all the time, I was a struggling learner myself. So going into education and knowing that I was once a scholar who struggled with certain areas within education, learning how to read, learning how to be developmentally appropriate with certain aspects of life, just growing pains as an educator or as a student, I should say. And there were educators in my life that really changed and transformed the way I perceived life, going to school, education. And then math was my thing. So I was like, if I'm going to do this thing called teaching, then I didn't mind going back to school to be a math educator and truly transform not just the way students learn math, but also the way they perceive education as a whole, using education as a stepping ground, using education truly to just unlock what any potential may come up outside of like, oh, I'm going to school.
Nice. You know, you mentioned having fun at Miami. So before we dig a little bit more into Math and More, what are some of your greatest memories while attending Miami?
I honestly, this is funny. So I told off a professor one day and then it just got so quiet in the room. Like it got super, super quiet and super, super weird. And then I like try to like joke it off. But like the professor, honestly, high-key didn't know what the heck she was talking about. So I was just like, wait, are you sure that this is what you mean that you're trying to say? And you could hear a pin drop, or as the old folks would say, you could hear a mouse piss on cotton. Like that's how quiet it got in the room. And then immediately after we left the class and like all of that other good jazz. And my two friends who I ended up writing my doctoral, like was like, yeah, we're locked in. We're friends. We're actually going to write this capstone project together. And like I developed two lifelong friends now. One is in Philly and one is in Chi-Town. And yeah, that's I would have to say, unfortunately, while it is funny and not the best moment that highlights me, but it definitely was one of those moments that's like memorable for sure. I'm sure the professor, who I will name nameless, will remember that day very well should we bring this up.
As you think about your journey and as you were growing up, why math? Like, why that subject?
So one, math is one of those subjects that in Black and brown communities, people don't talk about too much, right? You've always heard somewhere in some facet, oh, I'm not a math person. Whether or not you were a math person or not, or somebody in your family, somebody said when you said, I need to do homework or something, said, oh, I'm not a math person, get somebody else to do it. I was a math person, not by example either. Like, I just happened to like come alive when it came to numbers. But reading was a really struggle for me. Mm-hmm. So my educators, my teachers that were in my life truly used math and numbers to help bring the literacy component to life for me. So I never desired, aspired, or wanted to be an English teacher. However, I understand the importance of literacy, and in teaching math, I'm still able to teach some of those hard skills that's necessary for literacy development.
Okay. When you look back at your youth and your college years, what was one of the most significant things that happened throughout that time that made you realize this is the path that I'm going to take? This is the journey I'm going on.
There was a student that his name is Kelly. I'll leave his last name out, but he was struggling really bad, like really bad. And I knew that if as a Black man, because, Black men in education is only like 2% or less at this point. Mm-hmm. If I didn't help set him up personally, like literally make the phone call to the high school, get in contact with those freshman year teachers. Like, if I knew if I didn't set this kid up for success, that he wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have graduated. Like, he would not have done what was needed to be done to be the successful Black man that he is now. So I would have to say that was one of those defining moments in my career that would truly, this is where I belong.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, tell us a little bit about Math and More. Okay. How did Math and More came to be, and what was that journey like?
All right. So Math and More is an acute mathematics firm simply aimed to debunk the myth of I'm not a math person. And we do that by tutoring twice. So we're either tutoring young scholars that are in a math class that needs some sort of support to obtain mastery in that math class, or we are tutoring adults by way of professional development so that way they can deliver quality math pedagogy so students understand and are not scared of it. So we understand that we're debunking the myth of I'm not a math person. You have to be taught by somebody who believes math is this content that is super powerful. And if we're delivering and supporting that adult, we're also debunking the myth with that adult, because we also know that the research says that a timid math instructor produces timid math learners. So we supporting on both ends. So like, you either know how to do math and you want to teach it, or you're in a class enrolled and want to support. And then the way Math and More was totally birthed, right? Like, we was just started out tutoring and all of that other good stuff, but like going back to like my beginning years as a math educator trying to get kids inspired, Pi Day kind of came about. So it was like 3.14. We all know the mathematical constant. Uh-huh. So I used to do like these leading up activities to Pi Day to get kids excited about math. And the number one thing that they wanted to do always was pie me in the face, right? But in order for them to pie me in the face, they had to have at least a B or higher, and then they had to earn certain merits and like get tickets and like all of that stuff. So now you have kids that are truly invested in their math education by way of pieing a teacher in the face because I gave you too much homework, but also I'm tricking you into learning.
So your style is that even though you're delivering something academically to the kids, mm-hmm. you try to keep it fun and engaging. Mm-hmm. I picked up on something. You said you not only teach students, but you teach the teachers. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that model a little bit more and break it down for us?
Yep. So we tutor adults, or we teach adults by way of professional development. So whether or not we're making sure that they have the full content knowledge to deliver all of the various maths that happen. You know, when you go to high school, there's pre-calculus, there's calculus, there's geometry, there's algebra, algebra 2, all of these different contents, and then middle school and elementary. So we're really diving deep into the content in some cases because they need a little bit of support on like how to make sure kids understand this. Then we're also delivering quality pedagogy. So like actually saying, this is what you need. This is how you teach. This is how you support those students that are possibly struggling. Or like, for example, the other day, because we're at a partner school here in the Metro Atlanta area, and there is a novice teacher that's inside the classroom. And I can pick up, right, by walking into a space when kids are kind of like on that zone, right? Mm-hmm. They're like looking at you. They're kind of confused. They're not sure what's going on. And I can read into their souls basically and see, oh, they have no idea what's going on. So then that's when you do a pause and you do what do you know? You do a fluency drill real quick where you just, and these are things that we teach to adults, right? You do a fluency drill real quick, mid-classroom, mid-instruction, on the fly. All right, how do you do this or how do you do that? All right, spit out some multiplication facts, division facts, something that gets kids moving, right? That moving mentally, moving physically, however you want to do it, but it's getting them to say, I know how to do this, right? Then you take them back to whatever, let's just say Pythagorean theorem is the content or the objective that day. Okay, well, we just use multiplication. Multiplication and Pythagorean theorem are very related. You're operating with squares and you're making sure you're dealing with exponents and repeated multiplication. So tying that back together so that way the student can truly say, oh, that wasn't that bad, and making it real life for them. So that's how we connect the two.
Okay, awesome. When you started Math and More, and this is a little bit more from the entrepreneurial side, give us a little insight into how did you build the business and how do you maintain it?
Y'all, I'm telling you right now, entrepreneurship is for the ghetto. I'm an edupreneur. So entrepreneur, educator combined, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this term now that's been quintessential and it's edupreneur. So, and I pride myself on saying that because even at Math and More, while I am the CEO by definition, I also redefined that title to be the Chief Academic Officer or the Chief Educational Officer, I should say, because that's truly what I am. I'm the education and the vision. Then I learned some finance, and then I learned all of these entrepreneurial things on the back end. And honestly, it's literally like building a plane while you're flying. Like, I have no idea. Like, if you all think about, if you watch Air Force One or watch one of those documentaries on History Channel where they like refuel the plane midair and they're trying to like fix things in flight, that's what it feels like every single day that I wake up and I am operating with Math and More because I have no idea what I'm doing from an entrepreneurial lens, and I'm learning all of these new systems and SOPs and finance and governance and collaboration and partnership building, right? Like, because I can't do this alone. And that goes back to the old saying of it takes a village to raise a child, but like it truly does take a village. Like, I can't do this just by teaching a kid in a classroom in isolation during an after-school program or even during the summertime or any of that jazz. When they go home, it needs to be a partnership. Or financially, it needs to be a partnership, right? Like, so building out those partnerships with the University of Miami and within the colleges within the Metro Atlanta area, all of like helping tapping onto the board that we're both on at the U, like using Atlanta Canes. So it takes a village, truly.
Math and More is structured as a nonprofit. How do you get support and how do you engage the community to support Math and More?
I have told myself that as this educational leader that I am of a nonprofit, that I have become a professional beggar. So I truly just beg and ask for support in any way, shape, form, or fashion that I can. I leverage partnerships. So we have a partnership right now that helps with matching donations. We have partnerships where I have friends that work for larger corporations where their jobs will help match contributions that are made. Fundraising, tapping into my board, making sure that the board of Math and More has all of the components to be a successful nonprofit organization. And then pulling at the heartstrings, right? Mm-hmm. You got to tell a story. And I think that the story that I tell every single time when parents are truly invested, and you go onto our social media page and you see parents truly pouring their hearts out and they're giving these stories that my child hated math at first. And then they're like, oh my God, when am I coming back to math and more? Or I still have parents texting me now saying, oh, well, they scored at the 3rd percentile before, but now they're in the 99th percentile in like this short span of time. Because while academically, sometimes it's a lift, right? Really pulling kids up from a 1st grade level and they're in 7th grade is an academic challenge. But we're not just changing you and supporting you academically at Math and More. We're changing the mindset, right? I can do math, changing that connotation from I can't do this thing or I'm not a math person to you are a math person and this is how we do math. You are a person, therefore you can do math. So changing that language and like really shifting the mindset helps tell the story to then let the donors know when I'm writing it into a grant, getting all of that footage and those testimonials. That's truly how I get the support of the community.
Okay. Now, how as a community can we support Math and More? What are the different avenues and how do we engage, whether it's from a fundraising contribution, even physical help standpoint? How do we get engaged with Math and More at these different levels?
So I will say, honestly, Math and More for sure at this stage of the game leverages human capital to gain the momentum that we have gotten thus far. We are not this multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization that has all of these various different departments, to name a few, like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. We're not there yet, right? So in order to get us there, utilizing various talents, such as yourself, who has a marketing background, and just you providing some feedback to say, hey, your social channels look good, tweak this, do that. Or I have a friend who is a lawyer and she reviews contracts for me to make sure that handbooks are in policy, make sure that the information that's being presented to parents are in policy, make sure that lock agreements and other contracts are airtight so that we're not held at a liable standpoint. So human capital, honestly, y'all, is the number one thing that can truly support a nonprofit beyond giving, beyond, yes, please write a check. No, let me not say that. If you're going to write a check to Math and More, please do so and do so immediately. But truly leveraging that relationship building, tapping into your network, saying, hey, we got this nonprofit. They're doing some amazing work. We need your support. We need support from a corporate standpoint. So human capital, leveraging networks, and obviously financial giving is the 3 major ways that Math and More has truly been able to tell the story, capture the vision, and keep pushing over the last 6 years.
So you heard that here, folks. There's 3 ways you can help Math and More. 1, human capital. Come, volunteer, help with the services, your skill set that you can deliver. And yes, financial capital. Sometimes you come out of that pocket and support these young kids. And then last but not least, networking capital. Introductions, working, building that network so that we can build this community a little bit bigger. Before we step off into, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the academics and upcoming events, but one more operational question that I have.
Go for it.
Academia has always been aligned to a school year. How are you structured around that? Do you align to the typical school year, or is this an all-year thing?
So Math and More is a true defined out-of-school time program. So we literally operate when school is not in session. So we have after-school programs out of school time. We have Saturday programming, sometimes out of school time. We have spring break, fall break academies. We also have summer academies. All of these different touch points to truly ensure that students are learning from the beginning to the end, and anytime there's downtime to mitigate any sort of learning loss that may happen during those break times.
So you've really structured Math and More not to really conflict with their current academic responsibilities, but really to supplement, support it while they're in school.
Absolutely. Because we're a partner. We're a partner to the school. We go into various different charter schools or public schools. You can sign up for virtual tutoring. We might be housed at a school like we are this current academic school year. So we're truly a partner to the academic journey. We're not operating in silo.
Okay, awesome. Now we're going to switch lanes, and you have an amazing event coming up on Pi Day.
Yes.
And I want you to, first of all, let me take a step back.
Yes.
How did this come to be? How did Pi Day exist?
So, Pi Day is Pi Day, right? Like Pi Day is 3.14. So we on average, 9 times out of 10, if you're in a math class, 3.14 is how you define pi. Mm-hmm. However, it's an irrational constant that goes on forever and ever, and it all boils down to the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. Mm-hmm. So that's what pi is, just by definition, just in case you all didn't know that. I talk about that part in great length on our What's the Answer Wednesdays, where we solve viral math problems so the average person doesn't have to. And we produced one of those yesterday. But Pi Day itself came about because, it was like one of those things that was like, how do I get kids engaged in this mathematical thing and get them excited? So one of the things that they wanted to do was, again, pie me in the face. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how do you get to pie me in the face? I'm not just going to let you do that. And how do I get you excited to want to pie me in the face, but also get your academics done at the same time? So Pi Day started out as just a lunchtime activity where I was going downstairs during their lunch time during the season of pie, because oftentimes pie falls on a weekend. And I was just like, all right, cool. You get to pie me on the face if your homework was done that week, if you have a B average or higher. So I talk a lot about mastery. Mm-hmm. I don't talk about passing a math class. I don't care if you passed a math class. Do you master the content is truly what I want scholars to walk away with. So they get to pie me in the face. They have pie eating contests, pie decorating contests. There's all of these various facets to truly immerse themselves into pie. So that's kind of how it came about.
What is, when you hold the event, tell us a little bit about the event. What does the agenda look like, the schedule look like, and what are some of the activities that we can come to expect there?
Okay, so Pi Day this year is happening on March 14th, Saturday, March 14th, right here in the Metro Atlanta area. It's going to happen at the Martin Luther King Recreational and Aquatic Center. So make sure that you go to our website, www.mathandmore.org/pi, register, so that way you are there in real time. What you can expect is to pie people in the face. There's going to be a pie decorating contest or pie decorating station, should you choose that journey. There's going to be arts and craft. There's going to be bead making. There's going to be a VR experience because, believe it or not, pie is incorporated into VR, to video production, all of that good stuff. It's an irrational number, and if you think about it, your telephone number is embedded into the sequence of pies, some way, some shape, somehow. Conversation for another day, but it's there for sure. So there's a VR experience. There's a 360 roller coaster that scholars and families can engage in. Like, they can actually get on a roller coaster. It spins around in circles. And if you're bold enough, you can make it go in a full 360. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, believe it or not, musical chairs is a big hit. Mm-hmm. We have a younger kid circle musical chairs. We have an older kid musical chairs. And then we have like a face-off between the adults and the kids. So they come, whoever wins those rounds, who makes it to the finals, we have one big circle. We do the music. We do the whole thing. And they truly get to face off with each other, and it gets real. I'm telling you, the kids, you think those kids is gonna be kids? Nah, they are very competitive, and adults get even more competitive. So everybody wants to win, and it's a fun experience for everybody. Oh, and don't forget, there's gonna be pie and pizza pie.
Nice. Yeah. What time does the event start, and when do people need to start signing up for the event, both attendees and volunteers?
So volunteers should have already signed up. However, again, all the volunteer information, sponsorship information, anything you need is right on our website, and we'll link it somewhere below. So if you are willing to volunteer, it's not too late. Please come, help, volunteer, support us. Attendees will start to join us at 1:59. So Pi Day is on 3.14, right? March 14th. And the event starts at 1:59 because the next three significant digits of pi is 159. So we set that up sequentially on purpose so to get people excited, and it helps with the pi memorization contest too that we have. So now you have the first couple of digits down packed. Now you just got to remember a few more and you could be the winner.
Awesome. That's awesome. You know, if there's one thing you want folks to take out from attending and volunteering at Pi Day, what would that be?
Math can be fun. Math is a gateway content that truly separates the Black and brown community from being able to access some really powerful jobs in engineering, nursing, the medical field, in general. Just math seems to be this gateway content that people are afraid of. If you don't walk away with anything else from Pi Day this year, besides the pie, it would be that, this is not this scary subject, and it is something that I can do.
Awesome. You know, when you look back at your career journey and your time at UM, what would you say your leadership style is? So for folks that are thinking about getting into, academia and maybe even launching a nonprofit that helps students in certain areas, what was the leadership skill and style that helped you to get to this point where you're able to build this organization?
I think that what truly supported me at UM was I always had to push forward. Let's address the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of Black students at UM.
True indeed.
So, and while we're both on the board of the Alumni Association with the Atlanta Canes, and we collaborate with the various different boards, allowing and admitting and seeking and vetting Black and brown students at the U is a call to action that we are trying to actively address, right? So I think that one of the things that truly pushed me at UM was the fact that there is not many of us there, and the ones that are there truly said, we got to make it. Like, we have no choice but to make it. And you always had that one professor that was like, don't be the one. Yeah. Don't be the one. Like, you have to be on your P's and Q's. So, and then I also think that failing forward was one of the things that I learned the most at UM. You have to be able to just be vulnerable, fall into a place and find a circle that is going to truly support you, and don't feel like you have to operate in a silo, even though you may be one in 100 of those students that are on campus, and find your network and your niche. So while that's not necessarily a leadership, I think being a leader amongst yourself and then seeking support is definitely leadership-like.
You mentioned networking, and I've always thought that is a very key component in building, any type of career or profession. How did you get past that as a young Black man growing up, navigating in, and let's be honest, it's an environment that's a little bit different for us. How did you get past the fear of that, and how do you approach that?
How did I get past it? I didn't. I go to networking events and I am so shy all the time, believe it or not. Uh-huh. Despite cameras, lights, all of this stuff that I'm doing now, I go to networking events and sometimes I cringe up. But one thing that I have to remember is what Obama has told us one time. Mm-hmm. Don't let them feel like you don't belong in that space. I 100% belong here, and I don't belong here just for me. I belong here for the students that are going to come after me. So I didn't get my doctorate degree for me. I got my doctorate degree because I wanted other young Black males to see that academics is beyond sports. It's beyond, oh, you can do football, you can do basketball. And I don't have to be the Black man in a school that pushes kids to do those things. I never forget one time when I became an assistant principal. Mm-hmm. I came to school. It was like my first couple days, and I was downstairs receiving kids. And one of the parents came in and was like, I need to speak to an administrator. And I said, hey, ma'am, how are you? I said, how can I help you? She said, I want to speak to an administrator, not the dance teacher. Ooh. And I was like, okay. And I did she was one of us. So I did my, let me take my jacket off real quick and turn around. I was like, well, actually, I never taught dance, but I happen to be an administrator. I've covered a dance class before, and I've been in dance classes. How can I help you? Yeah. And like, you could see the look on her face, like, just change. It was like, oh, okay. Like, you have a lot of women in education. Mm-hmm. They expect there to be a woman principal or a woman in leadership to some degree. They don't expect a lot of men and Black men to be in those leadership roles, and not just, again, a dean who is over discipline, or a coach, but somebody who is truly pushing kids academically. Mm-hmm. So that's why I did it, and that's what is important to me, to like for the students that come behind me, to be able to break those barriers and actually say, oh, I had a Black male educator who had a terminal degree from the Ivy League of the South.
You know, I'm glad you ended with that, because one of the things that I've seen, you know, especially in this time and era and in this culture, is that young Black men being academically successful, sometimes I wouldn't say it's frowned upon, but it's definitely not the norm. You touched on, like, you kind of driven towards athletics, and sometimes if you're a little bit into academics, it might even be seen as a negative. How did you bypass and circumvent that, you know, as you were not only, you know, growing up, but going through academia?
It wasn't easy. There were a lot of athletic opportunities. Like, I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, y'all. Yeah. So sports was heavily a thing, and I have 3 older siblings, 2 older brothers. I have 3 younger siblings, 1 younger brother. So all the boys was into some sport, some way, some shape, somehow. And I'd never forget, like, growing up, I was like, I'm not really a sports person. Like, I honestly didn't get I didn't get the sport, no pun intended. But what I did get was that I was, I knew that academics was going to be my way out of the hood, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. I knew that when I graduated high school, I wanted to move to a nice place, whether not be a question, Miami, and enjoy my life. And like, just, I knew that I wanted to do something that was beyond just what happens on Bed-Stuy on Kosciuszko Street in New York City. So honestly, that was my push. And then when I look back, I see so many of like my classmates and my colleagues and people that was in that same era kind of fall into that trap of New York City, where it was like, and I'm not talking bad about anybody, right? Like, I love them. That's the life they chose. I love that for you. But now they feel trapped, or they feel confined, or they feel like they couldn't. Like, I want this to be the message that everybody knows from me. You can do anything that you put your mind to. So if you put your mind to it, including mathematics, you can do it. If you want to leave New York City, you can. I knew that New York City was not going to be the place that I settled down, had kids, and found a romantic partner and like lived the rest of my life, right? So I knew that if I wanted to get out of there, sports was not my thing, wasn't the greatest at it. Tried to play track for a little bit, tried to pretend like I liked soccer when everybody was trying to push me into to a sport. But I spent a lot of time in the arts. I like they had a Pratt Institute program at the school that I went to. I also went to a very unique school, so being different was okay. Like it wasn't. I didn't have to worry about bullying too tough. It was like, and then once we had that one bullying experience, yes, everybody has it. And you duke it out that one time, then everybody else is like, okay, this is not that, right? Not encouraging anybody to go out and fight. I am an educator, y'all. Don't fight in the lunchtime, but it happens, right? Like it's inevitable. So, in that case, it happened. We were cool. And we move forward in true boy fashion. And that was it. That's kind of like just how I navigated. I knew academics was going to be my key to just be able to do whatever I wanted in life. And that's what I did.
You know, when I listen to you, I hear you talk, and a lot of the decisions you make seem to have a very formulaic, a formula to them. Is that how you strategized moving out from, New York and thinking about how you were going to approach your academic?
Believe it or not, math plays a huge factor in everything that I do. So from the informal, is that a formula, to like, yes, I calculated every decision. So yeah, like it definitely, I was very strategic in my move. I went to a college that offered me money that I knew that it was going to be able to sustain me for my 4 years, not just that first year. You know, a lot of us make that mistake of saying, okay, what is my academic package like? And then they get that first year package and they're good, but then sustaining them through all 4 years beyond that first year, and sometimes 5 years. Let's be clear, the average person finishes their undergraduate degree in 5 years. But looking at that from a holistic standpoint, I definitely calculated that decision. I knew that my next move, all my moves were very strategic. It was either a career move, it was a education move, it was a academic move, right? So when I left Miami and I moved to DC, I was on like almost a 1.5 2 year contract where I was working for an independent educational agency as well as working for a governmental agency. And I hybrided the two careers, and then it propelled me back to Miami, where I was then able to work at a public boarding school, where then I moved up in my career to be like a math coach. And then I moved to Atlanta to become an assistant principal. And then I became a district leader. And then, so every move that I made was truly calculated to get me to the point that I'm at right now.
Okay. As I listen to your career, one of the things I want you to talk a little bit about is, for those that are, currently in school, learning math, looking at building their college career, and even thinking about what they do after college, what were some of the unexpected journeys and paths that you took that may not even seem related to where you are now, but was very critical into you getting to this point?
Unrelated, but related. All of it. I could start with saying that I worked a couple retail jobs to I have accidentally worked for aviation. We can talk about that because entrepreneurship is real. So I have to make sure that I have health insurance, which is important. There's so many different unexpected avenues that.
Let me pull on a thread. You said retail. It's interesting you say that, because even as a marketer myself, I started off in tech support, and I tell people that journey in tech support helped me to become a better marketer because of all the customer interaction that I had to have. How did retail play a part in your journey, and what was that like?
So I was actually like the operations closing manager for a major retailer. So it was very math. It was very strategic planning. It was design focused. It had I played so many different facets in that role, that from receiving the shipping truck at night to making sure things went out onto the floor to making sure it was aesthetically pleasing for opening operations the next day to analyzing, which kind of helps me now that I think about it indirectly. I wasn't thinking about it directly then, but like directly now, comparing last year to current years, like profit and loss, like how much money did you bring in last year this time? How much money are you expected to bring, using trends to help project what you possibly can make, or like what your earning potential is, analyzing barriers that will hinder your earning potential. So like when there's a hurricane in Miami, because that's where I was doing retail, we knew that sales was going to go down. So therefore we cut staffing, and therefore we looked at ways that we could help with the bottom line, for lack of a better term. So all of these, believe it or not, I know it's going to say cliche, but all of these various different experiences helped to develop me to where I am right now.
Okay. As we look at the trajectory of technology, we see, folks adopting a lot more tools, AI, so forth. And one of the critical themes and biggest discussions right now is that, yes, even with all this technology, us humans still have to have that domain experience, that underlying knowledge. When it comes to math, and as you see technology evolving, what is one of the critical things you want to impress upon not only students, but parents as we enter this new digital age?
Wow, that's heavy. So a couple different things. For starters, if we look at math as there's only 4 basic operations, regardless of what level of math you're in, there are 4 basic operations that you have to understand: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it, and that's all, right? We can't allow technology to take us so far away that you are removed from the fact that there are 4 basic operations to PEMDAS. PEMDAS is a heavy subject on our What's the Answer Wednesday segments, because people don't understand that parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction from left to right, understanding. And even with that comes its own set of language of the commutative property or the associative property, and understanding, again, when we say left to right, is what you see first. But in addition, that may not matter. But then in subtraction, it plays a critical role, because if we do 5 minus 2 versus 2 minus 5, would you have negative amount of money, or would you want a positive amount of money? So I think that one of the critical things is that you can't replace technology with just human thinking. First of all, we need somebody to code this information as we continue to push forward, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have some level of understanding as we continue on in this digital technology era. But then also on the back end, when things crash and fail, like even down to the floppy disk era when you were growing up.
Yes.
I grew up on USBs, but when you think about that, like if that was to crash, you still had the knowledge to be able to retype whatever was going on, or reproduce, or go back, and it might have crashed, but your brain didn't crash. So you knew, you had reference points, you had all of that information. So I think that that's important for parents to understand. Don't do away with actually writing stuff out. Yes, the computers are good. Yes, technology is amazing. Utilize AI in a proper way. Don't use it for academic dishonesty or any of that nature, but use it that helps you to position yourself to do better and be great, but also understand what you're using it. So for example, ChatGPT, we all use ChatGPT, right? I use ChatGPT to help flush out my thoughts. Mm-hmm. So I've already composed the email, but I might be sending it to an employee. Mm-hmm. I want to help soften the tone. Mm-hmm. This is a day and age, you and I are both straight shooters. Yeah. So I might say, I need this done tomorrow. And ChatGPT might just help rephrase it so that way it's a nice, hey, do you mind putting this at the top of your to-do list, right? Mm-hmm. That's just one way I could think of that AI is useful in a basic level, but still with that human component where, yes, I still need this tomorrow. This is still a priority, but then also where we're adhering to the 21st century of people don't adhere well to this direct assertiveness.
No, that's true. AI is definitely an accelerator and a check and balance, but it can't replace, as a friend of mine would tell me, you still need a human to check the math. Since it's humans that are even developing these AI systems. Recently, I came across an article, and I was blown away by it. And it was saying that Gen Alpha is facing a critical time in their learning development, and I was amazed at this. The article was saying in that in a lot of schools, Gen Alpha, because of this technology infusion, a lot of Gen Alpha don't know some of the basic principles of not only reading but math. When you talk to parents now, and and you've seen the trajectory of the folks that you've had to educate, both students and adults, what is one critical thing you want to impress upon them in this age with just so much technology out there? And you're hearing stories like kids getting, to the end of a grade or getting ready to graduate, and they don't know some of the basic elements of math.
So one of the things where I actually had the most success with when I was an educator was actually low tech, high engagement. And Math and More is actually based on that principle. Low tech, high engagement. Going back to the flashcards from fluency to down to actually writing it down so that way your brain can process the information that is being given to you, right? I think a lot of this stuff now is like we go on a slide deck or they're going through a math program in the computer and the teacher is giving a math assessment on a computer and like all of this other good stuff. But your brain truly doesn't process information that way. If you write it down, you'll remember it. Literally, if you write it down. Texting helps, sure. But how many of us have literally text something, forgot about it, and had to reference it again? Versus when you wrote that down, you actually knew how to complete that assignment or knew how to reference it or whatever the case may be. So I would definitely say that majority of our success, because we have at least at the critical age of development where we are right now in the K-12 era, where students are learning mathematics. Now, when you get to college and you're learning new systems and your implementation of new systems and your coding and doing all of that stuff, yes, let's utilize technology. Let's make the jobs faster. Let's do all of the legwork to leverage AI and technology, and we're producing it. But again, going back to your point earlier, is that we got to know the basics. Like if kids don't know that 2 + 2 is 4, right? If I have 4 water bottles up here and I say divide that into equal groups, if you don't understand the language of mathematics, which is one of the things that we're heavy on in teaching in Math and More, again, going back to that, literacy ties into math as well, because math is a language in and of itself, right? So teaching, if I say divide, group, regroup, all of those things, and you don't know what that means, in a math term, we might know what a group means in layman's terms, right? Like, oh, go in that group with those students, but then tying it back to like, okay, so what did I just do there? I divided you all into separate spaces that allows you to work in smaller sections of the room. Doing little things like that, but you really got to understand the language. You got to understand the basic principles. Those students that are graduating high school that don't know how to do the basics of these things, they end up, and again, that's one of the things that we try to mitigate at Math and More, but you end up going to a university like University of Miami. Let's just say hypothetically you get in, but then you're taking that Math 110 class that doesn't count towards a credit requirement. It doesn't count towards your graduation requirement, but you're paying University of Miami money to attend and take that class. Now you're maybe a segment or two behind whatever, like the university is on trimesters and semesters now for some programs. So now you're paying more money. So I'm really trying to help mitigate and like downsize, like and lower the barrier, right? Because finance is a major barrier for education, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's be clear, financing is a major barrier between somebody obtaining and completing their post-secondary degree and not. So learning these skills now when you're younger, learning how to actually go through the motions, actually understand the concepts and apply it into your everyday life and take it and apply it to application is going to be what helps parents financially, kids financially, and ensure the long-term goal, which is completion.
Okay, awesome. How does Math and More embrace, whether it's students and parents? I want you to tell, especially those who may be scared, or ashamed, I don't know this. Where can I get help? Tell them a little bit how Math and More brings them into the fold and help them get to the level that they need to get to.
So you can for sure just do little things with your family at home. When you're in the grocery store, for example, you give the kids cash money. That's two things that's happening right there. One, the kids don't get to see cash anymore, right? Everything is on a digital. It's a tap and pay. And we create digital currency cards for our parents do that for their kid. They're just tapping and paying. And it's like this magical thing that happens, right? But we all know on the back end, there's some real money happening there, because every time your kid makes this purchase, you're probably getting an alert. But the kid is not making that makes sense, right? They're just tapping, paying, they're on a school field trip, whatever. So bring it to life for them. Tell them here's $50 cash, $20 cash, whatever, depending on the age group of the kid. Oh, you can buy a couple things. In that case, I had a parent say, oh yeah, I did that activity with my kid. And he asked for $20. He went to the register and it became $21.07. And he was like, Ma, I need you to cash at me another $1.07 because, and she was like, why? And then a real life problem happened right there, right? He was like, well, they charging tax. And she was like, yeah, I don't get to cash out nobody else for tax. So I guess you got to go back and find something different. Yeah. So it teaches them financial literacy in real time. It teaches them the importance of understanding the concept of money, but then it also teaches them how to do some at the very lower end, the younger kids. Okay, well, how many items can I buy? How to budget this real quick. If you want to buy this Hot Wheels car, which, believe it or not, the elementary kids still want those little things that's by the register, which is why they're there. Yeah. They want to get that, and that's $7. But they also want the popcorn that's $2 for $3. And then they want that bag of hot Cheetos that I do not recommend, but they want those as well. All of this stuff starts to add up. And then now they're starting to make real decisions in real time. They're like, wait a minute. Okay, now this is $25. I only got $20, and I got to account for tax. And now, and then I asked Mom to take me to Chuck E. Cheese on Friday, and I got to save $10 for that because she said I'm only going to be able to spend a certain amount. So that's one way to do it. And real time, a real life example, financial literacy. Like I said, all of those facets come into place. Another one is just when you're cooking and baking in the kitchen, if your wife is cooking or whoever's doing the cooking in the kitchen, just truly ask them, what does this mean? How do you measure this out? How much of this is that? And I know a lot of the questions that we have in math is if you're baking a dozen cookies and you need 1 cup of flour, but now I want 2 dozen, they may not know what a dozen mean. Explaining that down, a dozen is a baker dozen, which is 13, and there's a regular dozen, which is 12, and understanding that language and teaspoon versus tablespoon and letting them see the different measurements. All of that can be enhanced. You don't have to be an educator to do any of those things that you implement. But it does truly help propel those students to really start to become fluent in math by having exposure to those opportunities.
So that is awesome. So not only are you guys helping them with a curriculum, you're helping them to utilize this with practical examples in their everyday life. Before we wrap up, I definitely have a bunch more questions. And one of them is, what do you want to convey to the audience on the type of students and folks that you teach at Math and More? Who does Math and More cater to? And can you break that down for us in a little bit more detail?
Absolutely. So traditionally speaking, obviously, if you're coming to Math and More, you need tutoring. You need support, right? So Math and More caters to the students who struggle within the eyes of mathematics. Whether you're struggling significantly because you're just so far behind and we're trying to make sure that you reach a 1.5 grade level increase by the end of that full academic year that you're enrolled. Or you're coming because you're like, oh, I just need an extra touch point, right? Like I just need, because math is taught in silos, y'all. Math, like you're in an English class, right? You're in a social studies class, and then you're in an art class. Then you're in biology. All of those encompasses reading comprehension to some degree, right? You have to read something, you have to analyze it, and you have to be able to spit out or produce or some sort of concept, idea, a summary of some sort, and then to be able to produce something, right? Math, nobody is talking about the Pythagorean theorem in their social studies room, right? Now we can make a stretch, we can have cross-content knowledge, but especially when we talk about like the Egyptian pyramid and like all of those different things in social studies, right? And that's just one example. So strong teachers can make those connections. But though you got to think the day and age right now is the novice teacher. So we really got to make sure that we are understanding that math is taught in this isolated subject area. So getting support does not mean that I need support because I'm just like bad at it. It means that you only saw it for 60 to 90 minutes a day and sometimes every other day, depending on what school you go to. And now I need to make sure that I see it a little bit more. You don't become a better baker by cooking once a week. You don't see gains in the gym by going once a month. You actually have to put work and effort into this thing called mathematics. Math is a verb. You have to do it to get better at it.
What are the grades that you support?
So we support all grades K through 12 and even at the university level. So there are University of Miami students that may be enrolled into our program that just, again, needs that extra support. And y'all, there's also, we push students back to their university. So we don't just take your money here at Math and More. We love the money, but we don't just take your money. We also make sure that you have access to the resources on campus as well, because so many universities like the University of Miami and other universities have academic centers on campus that tutor for free just by being a student. So we do tutor university level students. We also tutor K-12 students. And again, we support school districts by way of professional development so that those students those teachers can get the support to deliver that content knowledge.
Okay. You also mentioned helping develop and kind of like teach the teachers. How does that work, and how do you engage those?
So right now we're building out that partnership. Before it used to just be us going to different schools and providing professional development. Now in real time, so like, for example, our summer academy. So if you're in the metro Atlanta area and you want to join our summer academy, feel free to do so. And if you are a pre-service educator or an educator looking to get some extra hands-on support, so the way we design our summer academy program, I know I said summer camp, I use that loosely for everybody to understand what I mean, but our summer academy program is designed where we get a full week of professional learning from Monday through Friday. And you go through some basics from classroom management down to CPR, down to some math pedagogy, down to some feedback, teach backs, all of that good jazz. But one of the things that we do at Math and More is we remove the barrier of creating lesson plans for the educator. So now they truly are doing lesson internalizations in real time. And they're actually understanding like, okay, so how do I teach this better? How do I do that? They're getting feedback. They're doing all of that in real time so that they can be a better educator in the classroom and really show up for the students. So when the student asks you those one-off questions that's like, you're in science and they're like, well, how does a cell truly do whatever, right? I don't know. I'm not a biology major. But now, instead of like trying to master the content in real time, you actually know some concepts that need to be addressed, and you know some post-secondary requirements that are needed, or postscript requirements that are needed for that lesson. So you can truly engage that scholar in their thinking and their development. So that's how we're doing, and we're partnering right now with Georgia Tech. So we have a social impact fellow that will be joining us this summer. We are going to be supporting with Spelman and Bonner's College. Mm-hmm. We're going to be housed at Clark Atlanta on their campus this year. We'll be also on Agnes Scott College this semester. So we're truly trying to recapture and pull in those pre-service educators, pull in those educators that might be in the classroom but actually want a little bit more support and training and development in the art of teaching, because teaching is an art, y'all. So yeah, that's how we're building out that pipeline. So now when you leave Math and More, you feel empowered. You go into the classroom, you feel even more empowered to go teach that Algebra 1 content, because it was scary at first, but now I did it over the summertime in this high intense 9-week program. And I felt I got support. I know how to do classroom management. I received all of the information that I needed during that time. And most importantly, if you are an educator, you understand that you didn't have to do lesson plans. I can't emphasize that enough. You don't do lesson plans at Math and More.
No, that is awesome. Now, how do folks get connected with Math and More? Give us how they get connected with Math and More, and how can they keep up to date on some of these amazing events that you've been talking about and upcoming.
So if you go to our website, join our mailing list. During our high seasons, we send out, on average, a newsletter every 2 weeks. You also can join our text outreach. You can do that by texting joined 855-718-6284. 6284 does spell out math, and 718 is Brooklyn area code. So if you just press join or text join to that number, but the easiest way and the social way to get involved is just following us on social media. So just go to @Math and More, math, the letter N, and more. It'll be linked below, I'm sure. But that's truly how you can stay involved. Get involved directly or indirectly. You can sponsor a scholar this summer if you want to. You can come to our spring break. There's so many different ways. We have Career Wednesdays. So it's what do you want to do Wednesdays every week during the summertime. So if you want to come and just talk about your career, please reach out to us, because then we can line you up with a week that works best for you, and you can talk to the kids, get them inspired so that they don't just hear us, the educators, talking about what they can do. They get to speak and hear from voices that are actually in service in the fields that they are looking to get into. So yeah.
Couple more things before we wrap up. Tell us again about the Pi Day event.
Yes.
And give us a quick recap on what folks will get out of that.
All right. So once again, Pi Day is happening right here in the Metro Atlanta area. You can get involved by going to our website, www.mathandmore.org/pi, P-I, not P-I-E. And you can become a sponsor, you can donate, you can sign up to volunteer, and you can also get immersed in the irrational things that's going to happen that day. You can, when you volunteer, you can sign up to be pied in the face. You can sign up to do one of the many stations that we're going to have. We're also building community partnerships there that day. So there's going to be some schools. So if your scholar is looking for a STEAM-related school, so science, technology, engineering, math, entrepreneurship, any of that stuff, there will be a couple of charter schools that are growing and developing. They'll be housed there that day. There's other sponsors that will be there that day as well. So on top of all of the various fun activities, and if you want a slice of pizza and pie, that's also going to be there that day. So that's all the things that's happening on our upcoming Saturday, March 14th at 1:59 Pi Day event. The next couple of hot ticket items that we have coming up is our Spring Break Academy. So we have Spring Break Academy, which is happening April 6th through the 10th. If you really want some intensive support before you start to do those Georgia milestones, and you think that you just need an extra layer of support for your scholar, join us for Spring Break Academy. You can just go to our website and join that way. And then also get involved in our Summer Academy program. So Summer Academy, again, if you're looking for employment for that opportunity during that time and you're a teacher or a pre-service educator, and by pre-service educator, you're working your way there, we have a space for you at our Summer Academy program. So look forward to that. And our Summer Academy program will run from June 1st through the 31st. That first week is not for scholars. That's that teacher academy that I was mentioning, where we actually get the teachers to get immersed in their lessons, know their lessons, hands-on. They have the materials, they have the supplies, they have everything that they need to truly understand. And then the full 8-week program, y'all, you don't get no better than this. Our Summer Academy program is 8 weeks long. 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And guess what? It's only $125 per week. If you look at the average rate of childcare right now, I'm sure you know childcare is expensive. $125 a week per scholar is not a lot to ask for. They get weekly field trips. They're fed breakfast and lunch. We don't charge any before or after care fees. So it's truly an experience, and we make it accessible because we want this to be an experience that scholars can have and walk away from and actually learn and mitigate that summer learning loss. But then also we want to make sure that parents don't feel like, oh my God, I'm dipping into my pocket for this experience. We want to make sure it's reachable for the parents, so that they can have fun, they get excited, and they're enjoying their summer experience as well. Like I said, weekly field trips, hands-on science experiments, math intervention, truly mitigating summer learning loss, but also in a fun, unique, and affordable way.
Okay. And last but not least, before we wrap up, what is one thing that you would like us to take from not only learning math, but about Math and More?
So Math and More, again, y'all, is an acute mathematics firm simply aimed to debunk the myth of I'm not a math person. And you can debunk that myth yourself by just simply changing the language and the way you look at math and say, oh, I am a math person, but that was hard. Oh, I can do this, but that was interesting. Oh, yeah, I failed at this right now, but I'm failing forward so that way I can do better. If you truly look at it from that lens and that perspective and just take on the fact that, hey, this is a hard subject, just like learning Spanish, because Spanish is a language, math is a language. If you really take that on and take it on from that outlook, your math proficiency will jump in just a couple of days because now you're changing your mind.
Thank you. You know, I want to thank Dr. Roblész for joining us for this Atlanta Canes Community Highlight. And, you know, this is a perfect example of not only some of the alumni that we have here in Georgia, but some of the impact that they're having on the community and some of the amazing things that they're doing. We want to thank you for really joining us for this inaugural episode. And we hope that you stay engaged. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on X. You can also follow us on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook Atlanta Canes private group that you can join. But with that said, I would love to leave the last word with Dr. Roblész to help sign us off.
All right. If you are in the Atlanta Canes area and you want to make an impact, join us. Or I said if you're in the Atlanta Canes area, but if you are a Cane and you are in the Atlanta area, feel free to join us. We also have so much fun with the Atlanta Canes. We be going to watch parties. We have bar events. We have working sessions on Wednesdays sometimes. So we don't just sit here on this podcast and talk all day long. We have. But you really, like, if you are a UM or attached to the U to some way, shape, form, or fashion, join us. I also serve on the Atlanta Canes board. Chris Campbell is the president-elect, which means he will be the president for the next academic year. I serve on engagement with my beautiful partner, Tayru. So we do a lot and we have a lot of fun, and this is just one of the ways we get people engaged.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Take care.
Go Canes.
It's all about the youth.
Yes.